I think with Quant, it was always that two things essentially. One would be that I would have still like 10 minutes, 10 minutes at least left at the end of the section after doing all the questions, and still would end up scoring an 86. That would happen for one or two reasons. A, that there would be one kind of question that I would get stuck with. Second would be some avoidable mistake. So what I tried doing by the end of it was, with the 10 minutes left, I randomly reviewed a lot of questions, tried to solve a few, because I could at least target with the speed of 7 to 8 reviews, and some questions can be reviewed and identified. I think when I think you also suggested that, and I also observed that when a question is not working out in the first look in 3-4 minutes, it might need another look at the end. That helps in two ways: that you will not impact the remaining questions due to time pressure, and also you will be able to take a fresher look if you come back. So that helps. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another interview with me. My name is Dhruv, one of the strategy experts at e-GMAT, and I am pleased to welcome yet again Sargam with me here in this session today. If you guys just go through e-GMAT's YouTube channel, just go a couple of rows below, you will see Sargam again there with a 655. But this was Sargam's second attempt, and she went on from a 655 to a 705. This interview is going to be very helpful for all those people who have who feel that they've plateaued in a particular way on their GMAT journey. They are hitting those 635, 645s, 655s, unable to figure out what the gaps are, and a little clueless on how to fix those gaps. That is exactly why Sargam is here to just share her bit of understanding and journey with all of you here once again. So this can be called as Sargam's part two. So here she is. I'm really glad that you found out sometime again, Sargam. So thank you so much for doing this. How does it feel to have a 705 after a 655?
I think great. Finally, what I wanted came out and about. So yes, I think good. It's been a journey, but yeah. So once you're finally there, it feels great.
Yeah, that's true. So your score was already an improved score by 260 points, which we discussed in the previous video, right? I would not say it is an easier journey, but this journey from a 655 to a 705 is slightly more challenging because the scope for improvement is less. The areas to improve, identifying those is a huge challenge, and then fixing them is another challenge, right? So you improved from a 655 to a 705 in this little second part of the journey. Your verbal went on from a V82 to a V84. So you did fix things there. Your quant improved from a Q86 to a Q88. You fixed things there as well. And your DI had the most improvement, which is from a DI 79 to a DI 83. So a lot of fixing happened there as well. Let's quickly discuss how things went. Let's start with data insights because that's where a lot of improvement came. You were at a DI 79 when you restarted your preparation. What were the issues that you identified in DI?
Okay. So DI, in my first DI attempt, I ended up encountering more than one MSR questions. So that did take up a lot of time. I was already out of time, and that is what consumed my time. I think when I did give multiple sectional mocks after my first attempt, I could see that MSR was lagging, and TPA was very doable, but still was falling out. a lot of the reasons why was there are only like 3 or to 5 TPA questions usually, and based on those TPA questions, at least 1 or 2 fall in the last 2-3 questions. So if you're out of time, those TPA questions cannot be solved. When you so I essentially picked out areas I could see that my data sufficiency had a little bit of loopholes, not conceptual gaps, but some behavioral gaps. So I was trying a lot to fix those DS gaps, filling out in the error logs, but still the improvement was not happening enough as much as I wanted. So what I went back and did was DS has had a lot of variety of questions and a lot of availability of questions. So I went back. I think I sat in one go, gave about 35 questions of DS an attempt. So what that helped was, it built some velocity in the questions. So the speed improved, the flow got created, and so I was able to solve DS questions not only faster but also with more accuracy. That happened. So now this helped in 2 things. My DS accuracy increased, DI accuracy increased overall. Then the amount of time, since DS was consuming lesser time now, and since they are about 6 to 8 questions, in fact, of the section. So what that helped was that also reduced the amount of time I took on the DS questions and left me with more time on the remaining question. What naturally happens on the exam day is that you will end up taking more time on some kind of questions because something or the other will happen that is unexpected. The better the speed that you have, it's only going to help you. So for DS, it particularly happened that once my DS speed increased, the time pressure reduced on MSR and the time pressure on TPA reduced. Graph integration, table interpretation was more or less correct for me, like was right for me. My accuracy there was close to 100%, 90%. So that was something that needed less amount of,
Effort.
I think, progress. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is what helped majorly.
understood. I think when you are in the 635 to 655 range, diagnosis plays a very huge role, and I think that's what
Yeah.
you really did well. And of course, we were in constant touch, and we were trying to work through. And I remember you constantly having fluctuating scores. There would be days when you would literally score a DI 88. I think a 90 also, right? It is for a
I
DI
think
90 by any chance?
I got a DI 89.
89, yeah. So there were days, I think there was a V90 also on a particular section mark. So and then the scores are falling down, right? Yeah, understood. And I think when you reach this stage, sectional mocks play a huge role to help you
Yes.
continuously validate and build that stamina. How was that
Yes.
little thing helpful for you? Because we have many of them on the portal.
Particularly for DI, the sectional marks helped in a way that they did help me analyze patterns that, TPA questions are always in the end and I'm not able to do them because of
Hmm,
running out of time. The
hmm,
last few questions are suffering. That was one idea that I could see. I could see that my DS accuracy is low.
hmm,
And another thing that I could see was that my verbal MSR or verbal TPA questions were also suffering.
hmm.
Because with DI, you mostly always run out of time, and verbal questions need a drill similar to CR. So
Yeah,
you're not able to, if you're not able to follow that, you might not be able to answer the questions. Although with verbal TPA, a basic critical thinking can also help. At least that's what I observed. But you still need some time to be able to go through that.
understood. Okay. And of course, I think stamina also plays a huge role. Were you facing any stamina issues?
Mm, Stamina issues as in like
Like, were you like getting
exhausting?
fatigued? Yeah, by the end of the data insight section or something like that?
Not uh not really. That was not an
Okay.
issue. I was, yeah, mostly fatigued by giving multiple sectional mocks in a day, but not.
Yeah, understood. Okay. Let's speak about Quant. Okay. Q86 wasn't bad, but you knew you could do more, right? And you were doing well on the sectional mocks as well in your 655 attempt up too, right? So what gaps did you identify in Quant?
I think with Quant, it was always that two things essentially. One would be that I would have still like 10-15 minutes, 10 minutes at least left at the end of the section after doing all the questions, and still would end up scoring an 86. That would happen for one or two reasons. A, that there would be one kind of question that I would get stuck with. Second would be some avoidable mistake. So what I tried doing by the end of it was, with the 10 minutes left, I randomly reviewed a lot of questions, try to solve a few because I could at least target with this with the speed 7 to 8 reviews, and some questions can be reviewed and identified. So with those last 10-15 minutes at the end, I could focus on the questions that were taking some time, or the questions that I knew could go wrong. So going back and focusing on those helped a lot. Yeah.
Right. Also, you spoke about reviewing and stuff like that. I still know so many students who don't leverage this feature because they believe that it's simply impossible to come back and review. What they don't understand is that you don't get extra time to review for sure, right? But that's a strategy. You need to create that extra time so that you can come back. How do you create that? By not spending excess time on certain questions when you realize that those are going to be challenging and time consuming. What was your strategy of time management strategy on such questions that was allowing you to come back and review, and also you were finishing the test 6 to 10 minutes before time? What was your time management strategy?
I think when I think you also suggested that, and I also observed that when a question is not working out in the first look in 3-4 minutes, it won't. It might need another look at the end. That helps in two ways: that you will not impact the remaining questions due to time pressure, and also you will be able to take a fresher look if you come back. So that helps. Yes.
And did you change any question from incorrect to correct in this attempt on Quant?
I don't really remember. Uh,
That's
yeah,
okay.
I did update. Yeah, I did update, but incorrect to incorrect. Yeah.
Achha.
So,
Incorrect to incorrect, which is why you got an 88 probably, right?
yeah.
One mistake you
Yeah.
would have made.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised to know something. I recently uh, had another student, Daniel, who scored a 705. Okay, like you. This guy scored a Q90 with one incorrect. I don't know how. He
Now
answered
that's
one
just making me
question.
sad.
He answered one question incorrectly. I think he probably took quant in the end. So he did well on verbal, did well on data insight. So quant probably was really tough, which is where he got that little leverage from the algorithm that it was already tough 21 questions from him for him. Out of those tough 21 questions, he just managed one incorrect. So I think that's what has happened. But nobody knows the algorithm. So this is just for anybody who's watching the video until now that this has also happened. I didn't
So
intend to make
in
you
one
cry.
of my yeah in one of my sectional mocks also for verbal, I had two incorrect and I still got a QV90.
No, verbal
Or
is okay.
maybe
Verbal
verbal
होता
के
है.
साथ वो होता है
Yeah,
लिखना.
verbal is okay. Even DI is also okay. You will answer a couple of incorrect. You may still score a DI 90. That's okay. But quant is very unforgiving. It doesn't forgive you. Look at yourself. Now, one mistake you made 88.
Yeah,
So it's surprising and shocking in quant. But I'm glad that shock or surprise happened to somebody at least, for their benefit. But
yeah.
yeah, this has also happened. Understood. And something that I was observing, you scored DI 83, Q88, V84. Your last sectional mocks on verbal quant and data insights on the portal is exactly that score, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just out of curiosity looking at it. So I realized that. How close are these sectional mocks? Do you think they make you feel confident about your abilities? Or do you think that the scores are inflated or deflated? What do you think? How did that help you prepare?
For quant, they're good. For verbal, particularly for this attempt, I found the questions to be very lengthy. Like they were lengthier than I had come across in the MB official mocks as well as on e-GMAT. So yeah, I ended up running out of time on verbal, which was not happening for at least the last 10 mocks that I gave. So that was a problem that I encountered with verbal, but that was, I think, not predictable also. That
Yeah.
might be one off case or something. For DI, uh, particularly, it has been more or less okay. The only thing that I encountered in my first mock was I ended up first attempt was that I encountered two MSR questions. So I was not able to. I could make a custom quiz and do two MSRs, but it is not the same as giving a sectional mock where you encounter unexpectedly number of MSRs. So the question distribution is very predictable. So you are kind of mentally prepared and raced about it in some time.
Yeah.
But yes, the quality of questions definitely up to the standard. Well, I think the quality of questions up to the standard. Yeah, that I did find up to the mark. Yeah.
Understood. Okay. Let's discuss verbal now that we are just talking about it. V82, we both knew you could have done better. But I remember in the previous attempt, we were constantly hitting the V82, V84 mark, but not able to cross it, right? What did you identify as your challenge this time and how did you fix it?
So similarly, how with DS, I fixed my CR and RC both. CR में I think I was getting 3 to 4 incorrect out of all previously. I moved to 2 incorrect or 1 incorrect. So my accuracy with CR increased tremendously. Even with 1 incorrect, like the proportionately, it makes a lot of difference. With RC, I was particularly struggling with the inferred idea questions. So I did go back and practice a lot of RC. So what usually helps for me is uh, doing a marathon of questions, kind of not in smaller chunks, but doing like an entire day of RC questions, and you build the flow, you build a stamina, you build accuracy all together. And that is what I was doing in the last days. I think even after I had given four, I think four or four official mocks and all the verbal attempts. I think 3 days before the exam, I sat with RC an entire day, and that is how I improved my RC accuracy as well. So what it helped me translate, how it translated into the attempt was, in my first attempt, I had the first three, I think the first three questions or first, out of the first 6 questions, I had 4 questions incorrect and the rest was all correct. So I was rushing through. Uh, the starting part, and that gave me a score of V82. Now, what happened this time was I had built some speed with CR, so my speed with CR had increased. And even with larger sized questions, with like at times a passage, entire passage, and not like kind of an RC passage CR question, I could solve them quite a lot. Although towards the end, because I was running out of time, and the time pressure, of course, increasing, I did end up getting about 6 to 7 incorrect. But since that was towards the end, I still got a V84. So I'm probably judging because the first half of the questions would have been actually tough enough.
Yeah.
And that's my guess with it. I think I got I got 6 incorrect. And that was in the last 14 to 23 range only. Yeah.
I have two
With
follow-up questions here, Sargam. Yeah, please go ahead. I can ask them later.
I was just talking about RC, but yeah, I can talk about it.
Okay. Just two follow-up questions. You mentioned my CR accuracy improved and CR speed improved. I want to understand how. What were you doing to do that? Second, uh, every student has a particular theme of RC passage which makes you uncomfortable, right? What was that for you, and how did you tackle those kind of passages? Because this is a common issue that every GMAT student faces.
So for CR, I again did kind of a marathon of questions. So once the flow is set, you start identifying intuitively what's going wrong. You start identifying pattern of questions. You don't have to like do it explicitly, it just intuitively starts happening. I know that's not very deterministic to like implement for anyone, but with CR, I think, as you guys call it, second nature, it starts kind of becoming that.
Yeah.
Uh, yes. So that happens. I was particularly facing a lot of issue with inference questions, and there was one more type, not weak and strengthen. I think logically completes.
Right.
So what is assumption, inference and assumption. Sorry. Yeah. So what was particularly required was to identify the structure of the question as well. Every question comes in a structure. It's hard to identify, but gradually you have to do that, and you do not have a lot of time on the exam to actually map the structure and then find out what the structure, in what part of the structure the answer would lie. It is about sentence structure, but it has to come intuitively at some point. Then for RC, I was struggling a lot with economics, history kind of questions. Literature was fine. Biosciences was fine. Humanities essentially was a bit of issue. So what I tried doing was I went through some of my older notes of RC and identified that over time I had modified my way of answering RC questions in a way that I was capturing more of content in the passage map, not what the author is trying to particularly do. Are they trying to assert or support a statement, or are they trying to argue against a statement, or are they like, what position are they taking with respect to the passage? So that identification during the passage map is essential. So instead of understanding the entire content, trying to do that helped. And so with me particularly, I would spend longer on the first question reading the RC passage, and then end up spending about 40 to 45 seconds on the subsequent questions
Oh,
because of
that's
that.
nice.
Mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, because people usually take, I mean, we also usually say 1 minute, 15 seconds. 1 minute 30 is okay, but 45 seconds, that's really good.
But I spend more on reading. I spend a good 5 minutes on the first part and then 45 seconds.
But you
So I
read
think you
well,
guys are
right?
just like, yeah, yeah, that's what I think RC works well in different ways for different people.
No, that's of course there. The key holds. The key is to read, whether you take 5 minutes or 3 minutes. The key is to capture essentials in your first read, so that you don't have to keep
Yes.
rereading and keep going back and forth, because that is where people lose time,
Yeah.
right? So either ways, you take 5 minutes, read it properly, so that you don't come back. But
Hmm.
if you're taking 5 minutes and still coming back, then so the key is to read it properly and capture essential details. That's what I'm taking out of this. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Sargam, I don't know how much do you remember about this, but I remember, I think 3 to 4 days before the test. Until then, we were still continuously experiencing fluctuating scores across the three sections, right? It still felt, why are we not able to crack it, right? Because there were those really high scores, then there were scores like the previous attempt. What happened in the last 3 days? Did you like crack something, or what was that breakthrough moment? Because after that, your mock scores were always high.
So Quant was okay. Quant was not fluctuating much. It was
Much.
88, 89, 87, 88, 89.
Yeah.
So that was done. For DI was struggling with DS, MSR.
Mm.
That was toppling off the entire thing. Essentially, DS was toppling off entire thing because
Mm.
DS was consuming more time, still low accuracy, and then increasing the time pressure on TPA and MSR both.
Mm.
For RC, for verbal, it was RC was taking a lot of time, and the accuracy was low in RC. So I think the last 2 days I focused on DS, RC, both of them enough, spent a lot of time, kind of a marathon, and then that's what the breakthrough was.
Okay.
So DS was fluctuating, RC was fluctuating. Everything else was kind of the same, or if it was not the same, it was being impacted because of that
Mm.
DS. DS, yeah.
Understood. So that unorthodox method of going on a marathon quiz was probably something that was the breakthrough moment for you.
Yeah. It somehow works for me before also I've seen.
Fair
So
enough.
yeah,
But I'm glad
that's
that you
how
were
I
able to
built.
identify that, at least, because that is also a
Yes,
key.
yes. Yeah, so all the other questions, my accuracy was still 70%, 80%. On both of these, it was around 50%. And
Mm.
both of these were areas which I was very comfortable in. I started RC with a higher accuracy than that. So I knew that this is not where I should be. And even with DS is quant. So if I was able to do quant, I should mostly be able to do DS. This
Mm.
is non-math related as well, but that was still okay. So DS has uh, a very few kind of types of questions. A lot of it, there is linear equations definitely, where you either are able to solve the linear equation or not able to solve the linear equation. And there are just key points with DS. It's either integer, like, yeah, if two equations are enough, and there are 2 3 variations of that are possible. So at least two questions will be around those. Then
Mm.
similarly, yeah.
Understood. Coming towards the end of the interview, Sargam, one last question for you, okay? Your one tip for people starting at a low score like you to reach to a 655. In that stage, what do you think should be their major objective and main focus? And the second one, for people with a plateaued score, how do they, what do they look at to get to a 705? What should be their prime focus?
So uh, so a lot of times, since it's a 3 month journey, it happens so when you have started a topic and when you just finished it, your accuracy is higher and then the accuracy drops. So it's key to identify that a particular area has its accuracy dropped, is to identify that, acknowledge that, and that it's not just a behavioral issue that happened in one attempt. It is something that roots because maybe you're rusty and that it needs practice. If it's happening multiple attempts, it is definitely not behavioral. And if it's fluctuating, it is not behavioral. It is some flow issue or like the ability to
Ability.
solve questions
Mm.
in a go issue. So it might not be a conceptual issue. They are two different things. You might know what's conceptual, but to actually translate it is a different thing. So to do that, it is essential, like you identify what areas of accuracy are you lacking in. So for me, DS and RC were definitely there. Even there were smaller points that I saw with Quant as well, that this was what was happening. So this is the key to like translate to 655 and to translate further as well. And once say you think that all your accuracy is fine, maybe on untimed quizzes it's fine, still you need to go through all the questions and do all of those again to improve your timing, because better timing will never hurt. It will only be helpful. Yeah. So that, yes.
Thank you so much for all the insights, Sargam. Really insightful. I thoroughly enjoyed this journey with you, both the phases, right? Um, and we luckily got in touch during the last mile itself, right? You were at a 615 when you reached out to me. From there on until 705, it was a wonderful journey. You were a wonderful student to work with, always diligent, always positive, always at it. And here you are. So couldn't have been more proud of you. So all the best for our next steps and please keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.